And what gauge wire do you use for the 26 strand, or?
We're using strand, yes.
And then what should the bus be?
The bus, if it's going to be under 20 feet, if it's going to be under 20 feet, you're going to want to use 14 gauge. There's actually here exact breakdown.
Now that's just a total of 20 feet. So if it's a 4x8,
you could do 16 gauge wire for 25 feet, up to 50 feet 14 gauge, which is the same wire that you have in your house. Okay. So the wiring that is running your lights and your plugs, that's usually 14 gauge. If it's going to go over 50 feet, 12 gauge. Okay. That's our layout is 40-some feet by 30. So if I was going to run a wire from here around the layout, I'd want to run it 12 gauge.
Okay.
I think this is 12 gauge wire. This is 12 gauge stranded. So it's pretty thick, but it's not too difficult to work with.
But on a 4x8, that's under 20 feet.
You could get away with 16, but the problem is it's going to cost you more to buy 16 gauge wire than to buy 14 gauge.
Okay.
Because 14 gauge is readily available at Home Depot, so just buy the 14 gauge. We're using solid.
And I should have a bus.
You should also have a switch-it bus.
Okay. Or the Digitrax stationary decoder bus for that. If I don't use switch-it and I use...
You still want a separate bus.
And that should be 14 also.
Yes.
Okay. And then the turnouts are really just operated by this, and it's getting power from the bus, green-white bus. And the track power...
It's actually getting power from your stationary decoder.
Yeah.
The stationary decoder is determining what direction this is throwing, and that's plugging into your bus.
Right, to the green and white.
Now, if you're going to use, depending on the number of switches, I mean, you may not need to run a switch bus.
It's going to have quite a few.
Okay. Because if you can have all of your switch controllers in one location and then just branch off of them, you don't need to run a bus. But if you're going to have remote locations, you're going to need to have a bus. It's recommended to have a bus anyway, but
And